Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMack.com today.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I wanted to share with you about my favorite new tea. It is lovemysupertea.com, and let me let you hear a little bit more about it.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea helps you build the red corpuscles in the blood, which can carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. A 1-pound package of tea is $34.95 plus shipping. To order, please visit lovemysupertea.com. That's love, L-O-V-E, my, M-Y, super, SUPERTEA.com. So the complete website is lovemysupertea.com, or call 818-288-4128, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, California time. That's lovemysupertea.com at 818-288-4128.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Vanessa Shaw. Vanessa is a highly accredited and internationally recognized business success coach. So whether you are seeking more income, making a bigger impact, or enjoying greater freedom, Vanessa and her dedicated team of professionals at the Business Growth Academy can help turn your entrepreneurial dreams into reality. All right. Welcome to the show, Vanessa.
Thank you, Sheila. Excited for our conversation today.
Yes, and one of the first things I like to ask guests is, this show came about after my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And we have experienced more rock bottoms than any other time in history right now. So we are going through these situations, and I'd love to hear about a time maybe that you could share with the audience when you experienced a difficult situation and how you got back on track.
Oh yeah, because it's great, right? We've got to paint the real picture. It's not all rainbows and unicorns or whatever else we might be talking about. So honestly, it's quite some time ago now, but it was so pivotal in turning my business around. And then honestly, what the whole premise of the Business Growth Academy is, that I'll share that story. So we're probably looking at something around 2010. I'm thinking now. I'm not very good at remembering dates. I had a big client that I'd been working with for many years, big retainer, built my business inside of their business, was kind of thinking I was flying high, right? And I put all of my eggs in one basket. And essentially the short story is, overnight, I lost that contract. The truth is, it wasn't actually overnight. You know, that's the story version of it. The truth is it wasn't overnight. It was actually over a period of months. And I was just scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't think I'd be able to ever replicate that client, and kind of had a bit of a head in the sand approach of, I've still got some time on my hands, until, you know, that contract came to an end. And it represented probably about 85% of my income at the time. So it was massive. And by the way, the deal I had was a really good deal with them as well. So this wasn't just, you know, a couple of $1,000s a month. This was a, you know, kind of high six-figure retainer. And all of a sudden it's gone, right? And I've been up leveling my life, making a lot of changes, had enjoyed all that extra income for probably the 4 years that I had it. And I wasn't looking at the numbers in my business. I wasn't running my business like back then as, you know, really a kind of serious CEO and business owner. And my Swiss accountant actually called me up to tell me that I was heading for bankruptcy. And at the time, I mean, that was all in French. It was one of those scary conversations. And it started off with the, ooh la la, Madame Shaw. And I was like, oh, shoot, I know something's coming here. And I literally had close to, I think, about $2,000 left in the business, with obviously payments and, you know, other things, commitments, you know, that needed to be made. And I had lost all of my clients, right? I mean, the ones that I had left were so small that they really weren't going to be making the difference. And that was one of my really low moments, right? It was like, oh my gosh, the shame of that, how could I have got myself to this place? Everybody thought on the outside that I was successful, that I had my act together. So I was experiencing a lot of shame, a lot of guilt now about what I was putting my family through, and embarrassment, frankly, that I hadn't figured things out. And it's like, you know, why didn't I know what to do? Why wasn't I looking at my numbers? You know, why had I abdicated responsibility for that to somebody else? And it was honestly, Sheila, one of those days when I remember saying to my husband, you know, if I don't get out of bed today, nobody will notice. That impact that I wanted to have in the world is not happening. I've lost a big client. I could kind of just, you know, go back to being who I was before, which, by the way, was a stay-at-home mom previous to that. And kind of nobody would notice. And it was a very humbling moment of, wow, I'd said I wanted to make an impact. I was coaching other people to be impactful. Here I was in a mess. Long story short, though, instead of kind of going under, I had that moment of throwing in the towel, right? I indulged in that. And I was like, no, I am here for a bigger impact. There's got to be some good that comes out of this and some learning. And I set about that year, the year I was going bankrupt, I actually replaced that income in the same year, completely replicated it, and started to A, take my business seriously, B, look at the numbers and build a system for how do I constantly fill the pipeline, get new clients in, you know, never be in a position again where I've got all of my eggs in one basket. Right. And fast forward, I guess, how many years are we now? About 12 years on from there. This is really one of the keys in what we're helping people in the Business Growth Academy, because I realized that, by the way, I'm not the only person that doesn't look at their numbers or understand them or know how to kind of get a consistently full pipeline of clients. And so this has become something that, through those mistakes, fortunately, many other, particularly women, have been able to benefit from that, you know, big mistake of mine.
Wow. Well, that's something that happens to people. And what a beautiful story that you were able to get back on track quickly within a year and find new direction that's even better and more aligned for yourself and your family. So that's something that happens a lot. And there's being the talent, and then there's being the number person, and they're not always the same person. So it's a good thing to delegate at a certain point, for sure. I had gift stores when I was younger at 23 going forward. And I remember President Clinton spoke at the community college, went to lunch at Rocky Cola Cafe in Montrose, California, and came to my store, and the Secret Service showed up first. And I thought, oh my gosh, did I not do my sales tax right?
Oh gosh.
Away, am I going to jail? What's happening? And then, you know, and then here's the president at the time. And so it was an experience that taught me. And the next day I hired a CPA. And I said, you know what? as good as I was doing it, it wasn't perfect. And she actually made amendments to the returns that I had done.
Yes.
We don't round numbers for the taxes. And I was like, we don't?
No, why not? It's kind of easier, right?
I was like, I'm doing the best I can. So that's it. So delegation, you don't have to do everything, but when you start out, you feel like you do.
Yeah. And I think the key that you've just said there as well, because it's a really important distinction, delegation does not mean abdicating responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I had abdicated responsibility, right? So again, as the business owner, it's like I wasn't on top of those things. I wasn't, you know, giving it to somebody else. But again, and that's such a key distinction. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh no, somebody else can do the work, but I am still involved, overseeing, learning what that needs to look like. And, you know, I'm the one that's responsible for growth. I'm the one that cares most about my business. So like, let's put me back in the driver's seat here.
Yeah. And that's something I always knew. I could just like put my finger in the air and be like, I know exactly the account balances, the income, the expenses. I always knew that. I just didn't know how to do all those forms and fancy things.
Yes, all the other stuff.
Yeah, you know, and I was so young when I started, and honestly, I still don't like doing those things, but I like to know where I'm at.
Of course.
So I can make the right choices. And that's really important to oversee, because you never know who could be doing something not so right that you hired. So you do want to keep a check.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for new entrepreneurs that feel like they have to do everything because their budget is really strapped starting out?
Oh gosh, that's always such a great question. And you can't give a cookie cutter answer for that, because of course there's a whole load of things where we can say it depends, right? It depends on so many things. But I think there's some good principles. At the end of the day, we do have to do a lot in the early days, right? We as you say, bootstrapping, bra strapping, whatever that title was. I'm like, oh, that's so good, because you do have to. You know, I was very fortunate, like, you know, my first website, in fact, all of my websites, my husband's grown with me, but, you know, my husband was cobbling those together for me, because he's got techie abilities, right? And so, you know, I didn't have to pay people for those things. In the early days, yes, I was doing everything myself. I was scheduling the appointments. I was getting the clients. I'm doing the work, right? You know, you were just wearing many, many hats. But for me, I think, you know, a couple of things was, as quickly as is humanly possible, we need to get some help. Mm-hmm. And for me, there's just some things that, in fact, there are two recommendations that I often make is, A, don't do your own bookkeeping. And, you know, because to your point, you could even think you're good at those things, but it's not the highest use of your time. And somebody else that's really got the skill set will be able to set it up a lot better than you. The other one is even as simple as having like an admin assistant that can do things like scheduling and, you know, just some of those, that basic admin and organization. I got myself a VA for, I think it was 10 hours. Actually, it might even have been 5 hours a week, actually, when I think about it. And we're talking a long time ago now. Mm-hmm. But just that 5 hours a week was enough to get some of that draining stuff off my plate. Because it wasn't that it was just 5 hours. It was the stress, it was the procrastination, it was the fact that these things were so draining, right? And taking my eye off of other things that I could be doing to grow. My advice as well is always don't hire for where you are now, mm-hmm. hire for where you're headed.
Right.
And I see that's a massive mistake, because people say, but I can't hire now. Well, yes, because, you know, you're looking at the current circumstances. And if we always think from that place, that we'll never make investments in the business. And entrepreneurship is, you know, inherently there's risk, right? I mean, it's kind of what we've signed up for. Now, that's not to say this is kind of blind risk and we, you know, not going to be smart about things. But, you know, I see that a lot of times people, you know, again, are hiring friends that aren't gifted, frankly, you know, family members, thinking, oh, well, it's cheap labor or free labor, and they end up in so many messes, mm-hmm. as opposed to having a few people that are like, no, they're skilled in those things. They're actually going to do them quicker than you are. And it's about freeing you up as the business owner to actually work on business growth, not just the day-to-day stuff. Otherwise we just never grow. We're just always going to be stunted. So I think that, you know, hiring where you're headed for where you're headed. And as you know, Sheila, nowadays, I mean, there's so many options. It doesn't have to be, you know, I didn't take on my first employees till probably, I think about 9 years ago now, 8 or 9 years ago. Well, I've been in business for myself for 16 or 17 years. But again, freelancers, VAs, you know, virtual assistants, if people haven't heard of those, you know, you can hire some help for just a few hours a week to get that ball rolling and frankly build the muscle as well of delegating and being supported, because we don't always have those skill sets when we start up our own business either.
Yes, that's so true. Now I can go back, and I hired people that were much smarter than me. I was 23 opening these gift stores when I started out. And I hired people from the top stores, Nordstrom's, the Broadway when it was open, all these Macy's, and they were mostly ladies, and they had children. So I offered, I don't care, on site with 2 nannies and flex time. And so I said, I can't pay you what these other people, I can't give this kind of commission. I just started out, but I can give you your children and these nannies, because I also had children, so I already had to have help anyway. And that got me top talent. They were twice my age plus, and they were like, I can't believe you're my boss. You're so much younger than me, honey. But I was like, you know what? But you know what you're doing. And so sales, I was able to buy 4 commercial properties in California based on purely from the sales of the business.
Yeah.
And so that's what made the difference. Is I was not the smartest person. I just hired.
I mean, that is such great advice. And I love what you said there, because as you say, if you are all, and that's it's a massive trap, right? Because if you're always the smartest person, then you are always training other people, which again is draining, right? And there's only so far that we can actually go with that. We want to train people on our way of doing it and our vision and mission and values and everything. But as you say, if we've got to skill up everybody, it's going to be exhausting. But what I love, what's so creative there, is that looking outside, you know, outside the box, that you can't compete on the numbers, right? When you're hiring that top talent, but what other benefits, right, are going to be really beneficial to them, whereby they'll say, oh my gosh, like this sounds like a no-brainer. Right. And I'm imagining as well that they could see that there was that path to be better paid, right, once things started to grow as well. But as you say, at this point now, they've actually got their kids back.
Right, right. Yeah, and they actually stayed with the company for years and years, and were still good friends because of that. It was more like an extended family. And I was like, if you cannot be at work, I would prefer you not come to work, because then the clients will feel that energy. What's the point? You're not going to make sales if you're not really present. Don't show up. It's going to save me money. And so that always worked out. And every time there was a big sale or a special event, concert or something in town, they all showed up, because at that time where they didn't have to show up, and it made it. Yeah.
It sounds like you built an amazing culture there as well, right? It's just, you know, sounds like
doing my best copying all the leading companies. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, well, what's Nordstrom's doing? What's all these big companies? What are they doing that I could do? And so that was it. We even did a field trip to the mall, and we would see, now, how does that clerk treat you? All right, let's go to this other store. How about this? What is the difference? Oh, they handed you the bag and they thanked you and they talked to you like a person, versus taking your money and being rude, or the wrong music playing, or the environment, it wasn't clean. It was like things that couldn't be said, and we just had fun. That was our day outing. It was a learning.
Yes. And such a smart thing to do, right? Again, it's simple and yet so powerful. I was actually in Nordstrom yesterday myself, so you actually take it. I had one of my first shopping trips out in a long time. So.
Yes. They always have such great things there. I can't resist. And so one of the things that I'm wondering also with your business growth programs, how do people start to work with you? What does it look like?
Yeah. So we have a kind of very particular niche of where we have worked out that is our sweet spot, which again, I think, advice for anybody else is we've got to really work out where can we be really good? Where can we really excel in something, right? Not try to be everything to everybody. And so our audience now is primarily women, business owners, service-based professionals who have already got a proven concept. So they're already typically got their business to high five, sometimes about 80,000 to 125, 140, somewhere in that kind of mark. And they've hustled, they've cobbled things together, they've figured it out and all the rest of it. And they've got to that place and they typically come to us, they want to grow, but they are maxed out. So time becomes the issue. And it's like, well, I want to grow, but I just don't know how to. I've got so much that I'm doing. I'm wearing all of these hats. I'm now having to do stuff at night, get up early in the morning, or otherwise getting extra hours at the weekend just to kind of keep this thing going. And typically their revenues have plateaued because they're limited with time, right, at that point. So this is where we've found that that's my sweet spot. I can see so clearly there the changes that they need to make. And of course, some of those changes are ones that they're frightened of making because they're like, I've worked so hard to get it to this point. I'm worried, right? If I make some changes, kind of it'll all come falling down. And so a lot of what we end up helping them with there, and this is kind of really, really key to scaling the business, is many times they've got way too many things that they're trying to sell. So a lot of my business owners are not the Nordstroms, and nor should they be because they're way too small and it's service-based. But they really should have 1 to 2 lines of service that's really core. So they use the term even before talent and expertise, and that they actually start to scale up around that so that they can look at, they could deliver it, say, in a 1-to-1 kind of high-end relationship, or otherwise they could be in a position whereby they could start to do something in group and or bring in some other professionals that could start to deliver. So we start to really streamline, let's look at what that core offer is of what you most want to be known for and start to look at scaling up there. Now, the next thing is, it's not just the offer. It's, because I always say, if you weren't going to be paid, if you were going to be paid on results only and performance only, what can you really stand by and make a really bold promise around? And that question tends to just get us out of all the noise. Will I do this, 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 and this? But it's no, you're only going to be paid on outcomes. Now, what is it? So we start to get really focused on that. But once they land there, then I've got to go to, given those outcomes, there are perfect prospects that they must have certain criteria in order for them to get those outcomes. Just because you can deliver that, again, we've got to look at that match. And so again, that really helps them think about really dialing in their ideal clients. We sometimes call them champagne clients in my world. Kind of champagne, wine, and beer is how we divide them up. It typically doesn't require too much of an explanation. And they'll often say, oh my gosh, I like the idea of champagne clients that really respect my work, that are looking at me as a trusted partner, a trusted advisor, not nickel and diming on me on my fees. Oh my gosh, that would be a dream. Right. Oftentimes, though, they've only got a couple of them in their business right now, and the large majority are, let's say, less than ideal clients. They've outgrown them. So what we're looking to do there is to say, let's look at who those champagne clients are for you, and now let's reverse. Instead of that being the 80-20 rule of 80 are non-ideal and 20 you'd love to have more of, I'm going to flip this around. So that makes a massive, again, massive difference to the business. Obviously there, we're also looking at repositioning, repackaging their services. Most of I'm sure you've come across this as well, but most of our service-based professionals tend to talk about their services in terms of the time we're going to spend together, process, or we're going to have this amount of sessions, or we're going to do this, or we're going to have this amount of meetings, and we're going to go through this paperwork, or all those different things. And it's it'd be like the accountant saying to you, we're going to fill out this form and you're going to have this meeting. And it's actually what you want is you want the books balanced, you want the maximum profit, you want some great tax strategies, right? And you want to sleep well at night. And the other stuff is immaterial as to how you get there. So we're often showing them how to build their services into an offer that's compelling. So it's clear, right? It's compelling and speaks to their ideal clients. And that for me is foundation. I mean, that is an ever evolving process. But once they start to get clear there, what we find is they see then the value, like they start to really see the value that they're providing. So confidence goes up. Now, when it comes to, a lot of my expertise is in pricing as well. And they'll all of a sudden see that, oh my gosh, I've actually probably been undercharging, over-delivering, right? Giving away a lot of stuff for free. And so those moves there, when we start to make those moves, typically will free up time, because oftentimes I can quickly show, listen, you could be working with less clients and getting the same amount of revenue through the door, if not more, but we're going to free up time. And now with that freed up time, now we're going to focus on business growth. So we're going to solve the time issue first, at least a little bit of elasticity then. And then I go on to my strategies of, right, now we've got some free time. What are we dedicating it to?
Right. Wow. That makes a lot of sense. There's something about not everybody is the perfect client. And you don't want to be with a client that's not aligned. It's better to refer them to a friend or some other coach, or consultant or whatever the business is, so that they can get the results they want. But it's not your client. It's just going to take away from your time and drain your business. And that makes so much sense. I learned that a long time ago. And there's people that I do refer out to because I can't help them. But, that's okay. I know who can help them.
Yes.
And I feel that the most important thing is to get people will come back or refer you to the people that are aligned when you set that standard.
I couldn't agree more, Sheila. And I think the other thing that comes up there is that, it's a scarcity mindset, right? This, I need another client. I'm worried about where the next one's going to come from. So as you say, the less than ideal one shows up. And oftentimes, every time I've asked my clients across the board, and how did that work out? There's always a story. Disrespect, they didn't pay their bills, they were draining, they were this, there was drama, or team members were upset. There's always a story. And so when we've done it enough times, I mean, obviously I've been doing this, probably thousands of clients at this point. I'm like, trust me on this one. But you've got to let go to grow, right? And a lot of that letting go can be letting go of taking on the clients that you would have done previously. To your point, people will refer less than ideal clients as well if you keep taking them on. So it just keeps that going. And the opposite is true, that when you get really clear on who you can help and get these really amazing results for now, again, those referrals and those introductions are going to be at a much higher level.
Yes. And there's something about, we go into business, obviously, if you're a consultant, a coach, you're going to help people. That's your heart is in it for that. But whatever business we go into as entrepreneurs, it's so that we can have time. And we don't have that. We tend to be all in the business, and then we lose the time that we wanted to create for family, for lifestyle. So what do you do with clients that are really struggling with that, where it's upside down and they're just giving at the office and they have nothing left for family? And
oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. And again, we see it a lot, right? So again, it's keeping it real. It's not just once in a while, especially in the entrepreneurial world as well. So again, typically, again, with us, with business owners, it's a lot of it is we start with mindset, right? We've got to shift the way that you're actually thinking about this in the first place. So if you think that you've got to be, working hard, if you think that that's the only way to get validation, right? If you're, concerned about upsetting people because you're saying no to them or whatever, it's like we've got to shift some of those things first. And first and foremost, for us, it's also about, let's get some priorities straight, right? You've said that you want to go into business for freedom, right? It's typically the word that's used. And that means, time, as you say, with your loved ones, time reading a book, traveling, whatever those things could be. It actually looks very different to people. Yeah. But what they don't sometimes their business strategy, right, or business plan, or frankly, lack of, I would say more 9 times out of 10, is not going to get them there. So you've got the plan and a strategy that is just like if you wanted more freedom, what does that look like? Well, the way you've got it going right now, there's no way you can get there, because, you're looking at business growth through perhaps a very linear way, and, it's going to be you doing all of the work. Well, then you said goodbye to freedom. So for me, a lot of it was, I kind of give that harsh message of, what does freedom really look like to you, right? Like, let's paint the picture. Let's just not talk about freedom, because it's too, let's say, we can't get our hands around it. But what does that mean? Does it mean not working weekends right now? Does it mean, frankly, having one day off at the weekend? Because we can't always just flip the switch. What is it you want to be doing with your kids? What is it you want to be doing for yourself? So get very clear on that. And then for me, when I'm working with our business owners, I'm just very straight around, if you are planning on being a solopreneur and that's the way you want to grow this business, then you need to accept that freedom is the one thing that is going to be eluding you.
Yeah.
You've got flexibility in what you do, but that whole time freedom and everything else, and wanting to go off to Maui and have this amazing vacation, being completely unplugged when the dollars are still flooding into the bank account, I'm sorry, my friend, it is not happening. And so, often when we have that conversation, they're like, oh, I totally get it. They're experiencing that already. That's why I said that's our sweet spot. They're experiencing the pain of that. And then they're ready to actually, do something different, which is to say, it starts with that. Yeah, we can kind of restructure their offers and kind of what they're selling.
Right.
The next thing for us, though, is I'm going to help them grow up, ramp up their revenues rapidly so that they can actually invest now in the growth in their business, to get team, to get support, because those are the things that will actually start to contribute to the greater freedom.
Yes, yes. Now, for me, I worked 14-hour days running that store, 17 years. And
Time.
didn't take much of a vacation, but I did invest, and I bought the buildings. I invested. And so I created passive income to travel for 7 years straight and just have fun and contribute in ways I wanted to, and teach school at my kids' school when they were older, and do all these things just really because I wanted to be around my kids more. And that. So it was wonderful, but it's creating that business with the plan of how are you going to have the income continue if the business changes? What's the, exit strategy maybe that's nobody thinks of?
I know, nobody does. And I'm saying in your case, okay, you were putting in the hours, right? And I take my hat off to you, because I've actually, if anything, been, I think, the lazy business owner, because I'm like, I just don't want to work that hard. So I think I had to figure out another way. I was just like, oh, I just don't quite work that so hard. Let's say I don't want to put in those hours. That was the thing. I didn't want to ever feel that tied to the business. But in your case, you were figuring out the income piece, right? And which is the smart move. And that's why we say we've got to ramp up, income, because the income will be able, you'll be able to buy certain things and solve problems with that you can't when you don't have it.
Yes, yes. I mean, I was able to travel to buy the products and do things like that. I went to all the shows, the shows and this and that, because I had teams. There were 5 operating stores. So with that, you have to have people. And I got into real estate because I started investing and got my license. And then at the shopping park, all the other store owners were like, how did you do that? And they were twice my age mostly. I was like, I'll show you. And then I had my license, so I would start making sales on the side. And, obviously I had a team with the real estate side because I couldn't do anything full time. I just learned how to delegate a lot. Yeah. And the people that were able to invest in buying their place of business back in the day when business changed, or they got sick or wanted to retire, they had something. And those that continued to pay the rent and didn't invest somewhere else, maybe either, they would invest in their house. They would pull money out of their house to fund the business in the bad years. And a lot of them went out with different, 2008, whatever, and different situations. So it does make a difference in planning. And if you don't have a business plan, even to start, you don't even know where you're going.
I know. And you say it's heartbreaking, right? Because this is, again, it's, people's livelihoods, right? It's their futures. I mean, it's all of these things that are at stake. And as you say, if you've got to have a plan, I'm not somebody, anybody even listening to this, I'm actually not somebody that believes in detailed plans, like a roadmap.
Right.
Some people think of a business plan, right, and they immediately think it's like a 68-page document that they've got to kind of map out everything. No, that's typically for when you need investments. It's like a different thing. But the truth is, you can do a plan on one side of paper. It doesn't have to be that complicated, but then you've got a roadmap, right? That's the piece. And as you said, like that, now you kind of go, okay, now I know where I'm headed, and that plan also needs to dictate, like, what am I focused on every single week to actually make this happen?
Yes. And what is the course corrections that you need to take? Like right now with our interesting pandemic, there's course corrections that had to happen, even for investments and real estate. I mean, there's just a lot of change on our planet right now. And I was going to do a speaking tour, and now I do everything online with the show and different going on other people's shows all the time. And so that's how I get my message out. And I'm teaching courses in Australia, South Africa, all over the planet that I would have never even done had it not been for this crazy pandemic.
I love that. And I think, I know a lot of my business owners as well, they learn to say, obviously we actually launched, here at Sheila, we actually launched a brand new program in the pandemic. Like the day that the world went crazy in the States was the day we launched. I was like, you've got to be kidding. This is business growth program. And businesses were being shut down. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, is this my second near bankruptcy moment? And actually it wasn't at all. It's actually been massively successful. And to your point, one of the things was shifting people's mindset around what's now become possible through the pandemic. And I know for a lot of our business owners, especially when it came to time, they were wasting so much time traveling across town, face-to-face meetings, getting in their car, doing all of these things that they then realized, actually, I could just be in one place and, as you say, see clients all around the world, see clients all over the state or all over town. I don't have to be stuck in traffic.
Right.
So even something as simple as using the technology and realizing, no, we don't actually need to meet people face to face. You might want to once in a while. That's very different, but you actually don't need to. And, a lot of our business owners, again, were seeing that. And as you say, being flexible to, there are going to be changes, and that's a big part of business growth. And yes, we have plans, and they don't always, we can't always work the plan. But, something happens, but we've got to have that flexibility to actually look at, okay, what are the opportunities that I've now got? And those I think we saw so much of that in the pandemic with people that, unfortunately, there were a lot of people that just got completely into fear. And a lot of scarcity and a lot of, this won't work anymore and people aren't buying and I can't possibly sell and talk about what I'm doing in business in this climate. I was like, you definitely don't want to be tone deaf to what's going on. And we've got to be compassionate about, there are real people suffering here, and there's still a whole lot of people that are thriving and working out how to do things differently.
Right. Right. Yes, it makes all the difference to be able to course correct and be flexible with the plans, because life happens, things change. And if you had to put yourself on hold for a moment, your business, if you're listening in, and that's okay too. That doesn't mean it's over. It just means maybe you had to pull up your sleeves and help your spouse, or homeschool the kids again, or because schools were closed, or something else showed up and that was the season. And now, as we're starting to get back on our feet, what can you do now? And how can you slowly rebuild where it serves your family and your lifestyle that you want to create. I think, how does lifestyle design fit into what you're doing with your business?
I love that you actually said that, because it's true that there could be a lot of people that, again, really suffering right now, feeling a lot of shame and guilt and all of those other things that we can go to. And I think if there's one thing that the pandemic has taught so many of us is around lifestyle, right? And what's important. I think that's one of the gifts that's really come out of this. And so actually lifestyle, interestingly enough, was always important to everything that we did.
Right.
It always was. I mean, we've never not been kind of teaching about that. So for me, the philosophy is very much around building a business that will support the life you want to be living, right? Not the other way around, right? It's like, and again, that comes down to, yes, well, what type of revenue do you want to have? Like, what's the impact, contribution you want to be making in the world? Freedom, what does that look like to you in terms of time freedom or creativity, self-expression, right? These different things. So lifestyle design has always been important. I think now more than ever, this is a time for people to actually really look at. A lot of people don't want to go back to offices. We've got a lot of people that were in corporates that work from home that no longer want to go back. And we're seeing a whole new, group of budding entrepreneurs, consultants or freelancers, whatever we want to call them, because they want a different lifestyle. And so for me, my way of looking at that is to reverse engineer. It's about, and again, if somebody's starting out, it's not reverse engineering it 20 years out. Even a year out can be great. Like, where do you want to be a year from now? Imagine that, you and I were meeting and we were celebrating an amazing year where you're proud and satisfied with your accomplishments. What needs to have happened in that year, right? Get super practical around that and put some of those, put some of the numbers on that. The amount of revenue, what amount you've got to pay yourself. In business, it's not just about revenue. It's, in fact, you need to pay yourself first, because otherwise you'll be going back to a job if you can't sustain it, right? But again, like really mapping those things out, that's, we reverse engineer into lifestyle, so that a lot of our business owners, they're actually living the life as they build their business. Not necessarily the ultimate, of course. I'm not living my ultimate life right now. I'm living it in a way better way than I ever imagined. And there's always more. But that's the way, again, we can start to build that muscle and actually see that business can support the life. But we've got to start it now, like not wait for 10 years.
Yes, that's so good. There's something about the reality that if you're having trouble in life, maybe a relationship, a divorce, a death, something happened, it's going to affect your business, and your business affects your life. And this is the craziest thing I found, is that when I give myself time for the self-care, which sound, you think, oh, this is counterintuitive. How could this possibly be? I get more done when I go to my club that's where I moved to, has this whole lifestyle wellness, club, 10 classes a day and personal training, all these beautiful things. When I go there and do that, I actually get more done. I'm more productive at work because I gave myself that promise. I committed to doing something for me, and I actually did it.
Yep.
And so that's something that it doesn't make any sense. My house gets cleaned better. I mean, because we haven't had cleaning people since this crazy pandemic. It's like, I miss that. But it's cleaner because I went and exercised and took a walk by the lake and did stuff with my kids that are grown, that are home, and things get done because of that. So there's something about it actually fuels your business success when you think, I've just got to put in another 20-hour day and then I'll go play.
Do you know, it's
that way.
We discovered exactly the same thing, right? And, everyone's heard the, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? If you're ever, God forbid, in a plane that's going, in trouble, in order to help other people, you've got to give your oxygen to yourself first. People get that rationally, they understand that, but they say that they don't practice it. Yeah. And so to your point, with our new program actually that we launched, we had really been preaching this for years, as I say, lifestyle and everything. I was always like, don't wait. Like, we need to incorporate it now. And this is like an integrated lifestyle in business. You know, it's like, it's business and lifestyle can all flow together. And we're not waiting for like one to be at a certain point before we start to do certain things. And so when we launched our new program, and we run it like in 100 days, it's like an accelerator. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, our clients they set goals in 4 areas. And the areas are body, love, leadership, and business.
Nice.
In that area, and we're actually saying this is about fuel and energy, just to your point, right? Mm-hmm. The body is that fundamental source of energy. And if your health goes as a business owner, I mean, yeah. As I say, we know, you know, and so many of us have been dealing with COVID, and I had a husband that was hospitalized with COVID as well. I mean, we know full well that these things stop. And so we were like, we're going to prioritize this as your business plan, you know, that you would think about those goals that are for body and exercise or nutrition, whatever they want to be for you. Love was all about, let's be intentional about the people that you've said that you are doing this for, yourself, spouses and kids. But like, I want you setting goals around quality time with them and date nights and one-on-one time with kids, because again, otherwise we end up feeling so guilty, right? Mm-hmm. And then leadership is actually all about who you're being in the world, right? You know, really, how are you showing up and leading, you know, whether it's, you know, through your content, your communities, you know, teams later on, I'm setting goals there. And we see business is actually the last goal, but those other 3 fuel, right? It's like when those 3 are aligned, now that really fuels that business growth. And that's partly to do with how we're being able to get such, you know, rapid results. We're not just focused on one of those areas. And so that people would go, oh, business was great for 3 months, but now I've got to tend to everything else. Right?
That's so true. So now we are coming to the end of our talking time. So I would like for you to share how people can connect and maybe get started with your program.
Oh, thank you. I can't believe the time always goes so quickly.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I wanted to share with you about my favorite new tea. It is lovemysupertea.com, and let me let you hear a little bit more about it.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea helps you build the red corpuscles in the blood, which can carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. A 1-pound package of tea is $34.95 plus shipping. To order, please visit lovemysupertea.com. That's love, L-O-V-E, my, M-Y, super, SUPERTEA.com. So the complete website is lovemysupertea.com, or call 818-288-4128, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, California time. That's lovemysupertea.com at 818-288-4128.
Necessitated. You need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you. Out of the fog. If you weren't emotionally bound up in your situation, you would have more clarity. You would be able to see your best options for dealing with whatever comes up. If the version of yourself who has already walked through this rock bottom and come out the other end could go back in time and give you, the you right now, some advice, what would she say? Would she tell you to slow down, to stop rushing, that you don't have to have all the answers today? Would the future you recommend not making any major decisions without reviewing them first, particularly while you're still in the fog? Would she tell you that normal is going to look different for a while, but that you will feel normal again. In case we haven't invented time travel by the time you read this book, I'm here to tell you all of the above. I developed the Boots formula to help you learn to make choices, have a life shift, and make great things happen based on your individual values and best life vision. A change is going to happen, and it's worth it. There's a stage where it feels like everyone in your life is picking at you. Life itself may seem like it's trying its best to stop you from doing whatever you want to do. All you hear is, "That's a stupid idea," and "That's never going to work," and "Who do you think you are?" One of the hardest things for people to do is to realign and possibly walk away from anything and anyone that conflicts with their value systems. But you are going to discover that power within yourself. Through the activities and examples in this book, you will discover your true north and will be able to easily do what is needed to move forward with your life. Anything that hurts you, that doesn't resonate for you, that fights against what you want and believe in, you are going to give it the boot. Once you have turned your rock bottom moment into a positive, beautiful life shift, you can live your life on your terms. Your life will probably look different, but you get to design it this time. You are taking your life back, and you are in charge, not anybody else. Sooner than you can imagine, you'll be in the career of your dreams or the relationship you always wanted. Because you are going to learn to develop healthy boundaries. Because you are going to do things differently along the way from here to there. You will begin to attract the people, the job, the place to live, all of the opportunities that align with who you are, your essence, your truth, not anybody else's or even society's expectations of the way you're supposed to be. Once you have accepted that you are in charge of living your life and you begin to embody living your truth, people are going to see you. They're going to be inspired by you. Then you're going to hear, "Hey, can you show me how you did that? I want to do it too." When you assess your peer group and up-level according to your life purpose and vision, and once you have created a life shift for yourself, whatever that looks like, your life is not just full, it's fulfilled. Not only do you get more and better sleep, you wake up feeling rested and happy. You know that you're doing what you need to do. Yes, sometimes your heart will call you to leave certain friends or family members in order to find a more aligned peer group. From what I've seen, however, the ones who leave always return to lead their family and friends to success. Because your friends are more in alignment with your beliefs and value system, they support you while also pushing you toward your personal best. Life still involves work, but as a whole, it feels far more effortless. But you don't have to wait for the right person, right job, or right investment opportunity to show up. You can start living now so that every moment as you go forward through the process of recovering from rock bottom and redesigning your life is one more step to being the best version of you, the one who came.
All right, if you are looking to reinvent life on your terms, if you are grieving, experiencing financial turmoil, career shifts, relationship problems, parenting, elder care, victims of abuse, breaking free from an addiction, or seeking an overall business and lifestyle redesign, then you may need a reboot. It is not fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. So if life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with bootstraps and bra straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMac.com today.